Hazmat Township, Jeremy Morris. Got the Coast Guard guys.
Open it up.
Nice.
Hey guys, my name is Bobby Salveson. I'm one of the co-hosts. My other co-host is somewhere in the ether of the Hazmat Guys podcast, and I am joined with two guys that need their own introductions because I don't know anything about them. I don't even know their names. I'm just being a jerk. Say Phil up in the top. Well, I guess I don't know. Is everybody's screen different?
Mine's in the top right.
Yeah, we're the same.
All right, Phil, tell us about you.
Phil, I work in a fire department in Southern California, and I got into hazmat 20-something years ago. Started by pouring radioactive monkey urine into a drum, and now I'm a full-time firefighter in a, what would you call it, a career department. And I'm actually wearing, I don't know if any of them are here, but my big supporter of hazmat teams around the country. I run Hazmat Nation, and I invented a little thing called the HazSim. But that's me. I got a dog sitting somewhere on the floor.
Mike's calling me in now. He's having hello, Michael. All right, just I'm gonna put this on hold for a second, you guys.
Talk amongst yourself. My name is Bob Costignano. I'm a hazmat lieutenant in Orlando. I've been in the fire service 6 years, I guess. Most of which in hazmat, and retiring in a couple of years. So that's real good. Good stuff. So other than that, I'm also the program manager for the hazmat technician program at Valencia College, and also a sales and training director for HazSim.
And since I kind of see his head there, he's on the phone. I think our subject, so this is the first one we've done, and you see us, and we see everybody else on the screen. I'm going to take a second to thank Martin at Fire Rescue TV, who's been kind of blasting this out. I send a lot of things. It looks like people did actually listen. I see 147 people, but 14 viewers. So I think there's just 14 of us. So if you have a question, put it in the corner. But I think Bobby and Mike are the experts at this. They do the Hazmat Guys podcast. That if you haven't listened to it yet, I was never a podcast guy, and I became one. And I've been encouraging my crew and anybody I meet to listen to it, because if you really want to nerd out, I think we all have propellers. Mine is really small, but it spins really fast. Go ahead. You're the host. We're just here.
Geez, that's a lot of pressure. I don't know if I can pull it off. But yeah, I heard you thanking a couple of guys. I just wanted to thank the exact Fire Rescue TV. I see him in there. And Matt's a great friend of our podcast. Matt Blows. He's an awesome dude. So just a couple of things that we wanted to kind of get across to you is that I believe all four of our intent is to pay it forward. We've gathered a lot of experience in hazardous materials. We've taught, we've done a whole bunch of stuff out there, and if we could bottle it and sell it to you guys, I wouldn't be the first one to sell it to you for a couple of bucks. But unfortunately, it's not the way it works. It's you gotta be in it to win it. And so we're trying to make an interactive way for everybody to kind of see what hazmat is. And you know, me and Mike, who will be coming on very shortly, we do this. Actually, we're allowed to say we work for the FDNY. We're in Hazmat 1. So we do this for a living. So if there's anything we can help you with, if you've got questions and stuff like that, I see that Fire Rescue TV put in one question already, and we will address it at some point during the show, I'm sure, that we would like to help you. You know?
Cool.
You can just sit there like, yeah. You know, so Bob came up with a great idea of doing something that was along the lines of natural gas. You know, natural gas inside of a building or something like that. And one of the ones that I looked up into was one that happened in Manhattan about November of 2014. So I don't know. How'd you guys want to roll with this? You know, did you guys have any ideas?
I think really just to we could talk about, first due response to how different people, well, we've got two East Coast and a West Coast guy here. We can talk about how we do different things, and if somebody wants to chime in and ask questions, some departments have a first due engine company that has a 4-gas meter. What do they do? Some people don't even respond to it. They call, like you guys up north, what they call Con Ed, and you guys, right, Bobby, and then something along those lines. So there's a lot of different things that people do. I know there's a lot of different procedures that people do. Some people just turn the gas off right away. So we can talk about all kinds of different, things on what we all do. And if somebody's got a question or wants to chime in and say, hey, well, we do it this way, throw it up there and we'll pass the information along. It's all about sharing information. So
by all means, and guys, we're just kind of learning how this whole blab thing works. If you notice on the right side of your screen is the whole chat. By all means, put something over there. If we can address it, we will try to. But if you notice that if you put a /Q and then put in your thing, it'll jump over to the left side, which for us, I don't know if you guys can see it out there in Wonderland, but it actually puts a whole queue of questions that are to be answered. So if you want to throw one up there, we would love to. But also there's a 4th seat that we are holding for Mike. And I'm not going to, since I'm the keeper of the seat, I'm Vince Clortho, keeper of all seats. I'm going to lock that seat out for right now. So Shan's 3 and 5.
That's Johnny Cakes. You met him the other night. He's my engineer.
Oh, that's the guy.
Pearl River. and so we say on subject, but I think what's exciting is we kind of threw out the net, and definitely friends responded, and they're here. And I see got Jeremy Morris from not only what's a code? I'll give the acronym Dow Chemical, but he's also a chief at Saginaw Township that I think holds the first Hazmat of the Year record for 2016, an odor complaint. We track that stuff, and so we're going to be talking about this gas leak stuff. But like Bobby says, is kind of open up the format, and I think it's exciting to see. And I'm just going to call them out because I see him, Oscar Robles from the Heat team down in Imperial County, California, which it always compared to the 3 faces you see on the screen here, we roll with lots of BRTs, big red things. And and Oscar, having known him personally, they have his resources are limited and few and far between. So they get even an EMS run, and they've got, I don't know, I think he told me 25 minutes they might be waiting for a paramedic resource. But with that said, on the gas leaks, at least speaking from an engine company captain who also rolls Hazmat, and I see my engineer on here, we get a gas leak call for where I work. Before it becomes a Hazmat, it's usually 3 engines, a truck, a battalion chief, and some sort of EMS transport. And my considerations going in are looking for my hydrant locations, and I like to have at least 2 of the engines respond from different directions. And I'll leave it at that and throw it. And then Bob mentioned the 4-gas meters.
Right, yeah, Bob. Well, before we get into the 4-gas, Bob, how do you guys do it in Florida? I mean, because honestly, you guys have a different hydrant. Like in New York City, we have the possibility of freezing hydrants, so we have a totally different hydrant, setup than you guys. Do you guys deal?
It got cold. It got cold last night. It was like 45, so it does get cold here.
Yeah, that's the reason.
Yeah,
but I got it was 3.
Yeah, I saw that. I felt bad for you. No, depending on what it is, if it's a gas odor. Typically, they'll try to send the first due engine company, the closest truck company with a meter, and then Hazmat 1, which has a driver. Kind of the way we're set up is we have, of the 7 truck companies, 3 are Hazmat, 3 are Tech Rescue, 1's a regular truck company, and then we have our Hazmat truck and a Hazmat engine, and that's the main shift Hazmat officer. So it's kind of a split up system, but it allows us to have more technicians spread out. And it can get more rapidly to the scene and kind of evaluate and see where we need to go from there. So a gas odor would be the closest truck company with a meter and the closest engine in Hazmat 1. If it turns out to be something a little bit more, then they'll call for the Hazmat engine and just kind of build from that.
Wow.
And that would be like for a gas odor in an apartment building or something like that. If a natural gas line rupture, that's a different ballgame. That's 2 engines, a truck company, Hazmat engine, battalion chief, and a partridge in a pear tree. So,
all right. So I'll give you the FDNY's way of doing it, and we have that luxury. As most of you know, it's disgusting when you're from a small department. How much if we can't solve a problem, we just throw people at it. When I'm in Hazmat 1, and to be honest with you, there's only one Hazmat in all of New York City. That's it. So, which is kind of silly. It was only like that for maybe the last 15 years. We started putting into more technician units that we started to put in squads, which are basically like heavy rescue rigs that do firefighting. They added that capability of them. And then we started adding engines that have, a full complement. But there's only one mothership. And we only go out for the big ones. So we really don't go anything that is the normal smells and bells. We don't go out on natural gas leaks or anything like that until it's big enough where the first two companies can't handle it. Our typical response when we get there, I'm going to say at minimum, is going to be 2 engines, 1 truck. And remember, our engines are 5 or 6 guys each. Our trucks are 6 guys. Probably a squad, a rescue. It's probably about 60 guys for the minute we get there. That's for like a small,
Our whole department.
Well, we're a little bit big. We have a couple guys, about 10,000 now. I love when people say, "Hey, Joe from the Bronx?
Bob, he has a boat and a tattoo.
Joe is a great guy.
Likes to fish.
Yeah, all right. So we're now at the scene, and we've gotten a report from the incident commander. Let's just look back into the chemical and physical properties. And this is not really oh, look at this. Welcome, Michael Monaco.
Hey.
Oh.
Hey, Mike. Oh, look. Hold on a second.
There he is. Here he comes.
There he is. Look at that.
Oh, there he is.
All right.
That only took forever to get on.
Mike, we were just talking about you.
Oh.
No, not really. We weren't really.
Anything good?
No. We were just talking about the response considerations, and we were just getting into we did our told the incident commander, we were given a briefing, and now we're just basically talking about the chemical physical properties of natural gas. Now, natural gas is basically methane, right?
Correct.
Right, with some benzene. There's other stuff that's built into it.
It'll have junk, a little bit of butane, a little bit of propane, but for the most part, it's methane.
Butane, the pupan,
all the ants, all the benzines ends.
But it's an easy gas for us to bring into a building, and it has a vapor density that's lighter than air, which is a good thing for us, right? I mean, that's going to help us ventilate.
Oh yeah, it's probably the biggest difference between natural gas and propane, for one being incredibly safe and one being incredibly dangerous, is that property that it rises.
Right, so ventilation is going to be relatively easy if we open the windows from the top down as opposed to the bottom up. Just a small consideration like that, right, Phil?
Oh, absolutely.
I actually don't have my stuff. I'm just kind of riffing off. I have a NIOSH in front of me, but I forgot to look it up, and I'm not going to search now. It's flammable range, what, from 5 to 15?
5 to 15.
5 to 15 for natural gas, yeah.
Natural gas, which is a nice narrow number, right? We like narrow. We don't like wide.
Right.
Yeah, if you compare that,
I learned
to
that
like
from
a
the podcast today.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess we'll explore the chemical physical properties as we go on. But it's a gas. It's a pressurized gas. You're typically getting into your building at a couple of pounds, maybe 2 or 3 pounds, whatever it might be, and then it's further regulated down via the appliance or whatever it might be, down to half a pound or whatever it is. Right? Anybody have something different in your area?
Nope.
No, typically the same.
Okay. So when we have one of these types of these operations, and I was just looking at one that happened in New York City, where there was one recently that went to like a 6th alarm, and for how many people? Because a lot of people equate alarms to how many people. Mike, what is this? A 6th alarm is probably what? 10 engines?
Easily a couple hundred people.
It's probably like 250 to 300 people. I'm guessing at.
Easily.
How many alarms did you say?
6th alarm.
Well, one alarm gives us what? 4 engines, 3 trucks, a rescue, a squad, 2 chiefs.
Yeah. So that's 5, 10. I'm terrible at math. It's going to be 20,
A lot of people.
A
It's a
boatload.
lot of people. Yeah.
50 to 60. So you add in 2 engines in one truck and every alarm up. So it gets big quick. But the thing is that, at this alarm, we had a 6-alarm fire. What basically happened was they had an illegal gas conversion. I know this only happens in New York City because it never happened. Nobody ever steals anything. I mean,
Nah.
but the guy tapped the main system in the street
With a garden hose.
with a garden hose.
With a garden hose.
Is
What
there a
could go
problem?
wrong?
What
What
could
could
go
go
wrong? We do this stuff all the time. So he tapped into it and was supplying the building, and then he heard the jig was up and they were coming to find it, and he disconnected it, and then the building filled up with gas from the top down, and then it went boom.
Boom. Big boom.
It was a big boom. So I actually have the article. I don't even know if we can put show notes on these things.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to look, because I think I had that on the Hazmat Nation. That's not the only 6-alarm. When did that happen? What month, Bobby?
3 months
It
ago.
was either March 26th or May 26th. It was an M month with the 26th of 15 or 14, but I'm almost sure it was 15.
Gotcha.
And I have an article here of another one that was in Queens. I don't know, Mike, were you on that one?
No, I've been to a couple of the large propanes that have gone off. That the one that took out the back of the house, but I haven't been to any of the natural gas this year.
Okay. How do you? I mean, Bob, talk. What do you guys do at one of these alarms?
Well, one of the things we try to impress upon our guys is not just hitting the gas meter right off the bat. The caller in apartment A could be the one that's smelling the gas, or their captain, obviously, which we can talk about a little bit later. But they're smelling the gas, and if they just turn it off in apartment A, really it could be coming from apartment D and the adjacent side. So we try to make sure that the first-in companies, the thorough investigation, with the truck company and Hazmat One, air monitoring all the apartments, and try to really isolate it where they can before they just arbitrarily turn stuff off. So that's the first step. If while they're doing that, we call the gas company, which is TECO in this area, and we have them responding just in case something's going on. 9 times out of 10, they're going to have to do a drop test on the meter anyway, which is a whole other conversation. But it's good to have the professionals there because that's what they are. They play with this stuff every day, and they're a real great resource. So if you out there have not contacted your local gas company, by all means do. They're a great resource, and they even give us some different clamps and stuff to kind of help us help them.
Yeah, right. Phil, do you guys do anything differently?
No. I would say, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but often it comes in as an odor complaint, odor of natural gas in a structure. And I talked about what our assignment is and the first in. And I would probably say, at least where we are, it's 9 times out of 10, it's either construction workers or it's somebody, it's a little old lady that just happened to, the pilot light went out. So first in engine company goes and investigates.
Right.
But typically we're real lucky. Southern California Gas their emergency team is actually located in our city. So for the Hazmat team to get involved, we do have the clamp that can clamp the poly lines. And obviously the danger being, in fact, I just wrote an article that might be in one of the magazines here soon. And it refers to I love the name of it, the Strapped Jock Shoe Store in Phoenix back in 2000. We'll say 10 years ago, but it was a broken line in the street. They did the right thing. They evacuated. The natural gas then floated into the Strapped Jock Shoe Store, found an ignition source, and like what happened in Queens, and blew it up. And in fact, it was right around the corner from Phoenix Fire Station 9, and they heard the explosion. So our concern is gas collecting in an enclosed area. We like it when it's out and about. If it's out and about, the worst thing that can happen is it lights off, and we're there prepared with a hose line pulled anyhow, and then we can go in and remedy it. We're lucky where I work. Oftentimes the gas companies are faster than we could even get the Hazmat rig there.
That's great. So we have that too. We have what they call the white hat, where the Con Ed guys, which is our municipal gas, it has like a liaison point with our chiefs, and it works out pretty well. We actually had one. When you were saying something, you jogged my memory. We had a situation in my volunteer fire department. I'm also an ex-chief from East Meadow Fire Department, Long Island. And we had a run, I remember a couple of years, maybe 5 years ago, where we were called to a house that was vacant. And they had these people up in the Northeast, we call them snowbirds. Those are people that find that it's too cold up here and they go down to beautiful Florida to sun themselves in place of, what is it, brides and grooms and death's waiting room or something. What do they call that in Florida?
That's about right.
EMS call it difficulty dying.
God's waiting room.
So when we went up there, there was people that was saying they smelled an odor of gas, and it was kind of a weird thing because when we went up to the front door, they had a mail slot. We stuck the meter through, and you could smell the gas. It was enormous smell of gas, but the meters were not chirping at all. Okay, so which kind of sets you off. You know, LEL should have been deflecting. So when we were going around the house to see if we can get inside, when we opened the window on the second floor, no smell, but the meters went bonkers. They went crazy. And what happened was when we got the gas guy there, and I didn't know this, and I don't know if you guys have ever seen this, but the gas, because it was sitting in the house for so many months, it actually stratified and unmixed itself from the ethyl mercaptan and the gas. And the mercaptan was low and the gas was high. And so we measured it at the door at the first floor. There was no LEL, but the smell was there. On the second floor, there was no smell, but the LEL was there. It almost unmixed itself. You ever hear that? Yeah, I mean, if I didn't see it, I wouldn't believe it.
Yeah,
but
that's kind of weird.
So yeah, for those you guys are out there, you know, if you see that, you might want to check another level.
Yeah. Don't always just assume the meter works, and don't always assume your nose works.
Right. Well, and that brings up a good point about assuming the meter works. You know, everybody should, if you have the capability, you should always have 2 meters there, because you might have a problem with one. And you know, some departments, let's face it, that they don't have the funds to buy 2 meters and 3 meters and have them all show up. And that's why it's real important that they make sure it's calibrated properly. They do all the stuff monthly like they should to make sure the equipment does work. You know, check it out every day like you do your saws, your nozzles, your everything else, because it's a piece of equipment that could save your life and everybody else's. So I'll get off this soapbox. But anyway.
No, it's a good point, because we, at least where me and Mike work, we have redundancy. And again, I know the department we're from, but you always want to have one meter that's looking at the other. So if I get a reading of 35 on my meter of whatever that 35 might be, I want a second meter confirming that 35 or disputing it.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Just so everybody knows, we kind of picked this topic because of the time of the season. There's been a lot of natural gas explosions in the news, especially with it getting colder up north. So that's just kind of why we hit up on this topic right off the bat. So,
right.
I think on meters too, guys, is the usually we're lucky. We have a 4-gas on every apparatus. In fact, throughout LA County too. I think LA County Fire also, but there's pretty lucky. I know everybody doesn't roll that way, but it still is useless if you haven't fired it up, warmed it up, let it fresh air cal en route. So I know with my crew, even when we're rolling on the engine, that thing's turned on en route. So you get there and then you don't have any surprises, but don't make it the first time that you've turned it on that gas leak call, because you're going to get the little exclamation point and you're going to wonder, does that mean I need to calibrate, or does that mean I should run? And, yada, yada, go through the rest. But then, and then you're looking, it could just be a skunk under a house, which is probably 20% of our gas inside of a building odor complaint calls.
We don't get too many skunks. not one.
Yeah. It's usually a body.
We got,
I was gonna say body.
Body sometimes.
Yeah. I used to handle body dog back in the day, so I can tell the difference between rotting flesh and skunk.
I'll have to keep that in mind.
But you guys did in the podcast the other day, you mentioned about the beta-mercaptoethanol, which if nobody's listened to it yet, the podcast on, was it not flammability?
No, that was a hot wash. That was one of
the hot wash
that we did. Yeah,
where you mentioned the odorizer, and I remember I worked for a large university. I can't say the name, but the acronym was UCLA, and beta-mercaptoethanol in a container, is about an ounce. They do it in milliliters. About a tablespoon of that spills in a structure, and it'll evacuate the entire place. It does not take much of that stuff, and it came in as a gas leak, and then the hazmat team shows up, and we've got literally a see here, I'll use one of these, a challenge coin size spill on the floor, and that took out a wing of a building.
Oh well, yeah. It was block. I mean, it was blocks. You would have thought you were standing in the middle of a highly flammable atmosphere. Blocks away, you could smell it coming in.
And that was the one at the university, right?
Yeah, Columbia.
Yeah. So same. I mean, having worked, and maybe somebody watching, if you've got a university in your district, they don't necessarily have the volumes. They may or may not have a cogen plant with, a 10,000 pound gallon, anhydrous ammonia. Probably not anymore, but they have lots of small quantity. In fact, Bob and I were reminiscing yesterday about how many picric acids I rehydrated back in my waste slinging days, and now the bomb robot handles them. But they shouldn't be scary, meaning if you walk through them, you should get a feeling for the universities, but they do have, as you guys know, a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and they have people that actually know what they're doing.
Yeah, and they know what they're doing,
which is a pretty cool resource because we tried to tell them what they should not have done, and the guy basically was like, I wrote the book on this. I think I know what I can and can't do. We were like, all right, fair enough.
What's in the cup?
He was
what's in mine, Jimmy?
The doctor.
I'm drinking this.
What are you drinking? What are you?
Johnny asked. I got German beer.
That's good. Yeah. What are you drinking, Bob? I'm afraid to ask.
Water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night, not so much.
But with the meters, I'm kind of I'm not a big. I don't want to say I'm not a big meter guy, but my whole thing about the hazmat is that using the meters, and I've seen this happen more and more, is that guys get very dependent on their meters. They utilize them, especially guys that don't use them a lot, like guys that are in regional teams or ancillary units. They go with that whole dumb approach where, oh, well, if the meter beeps, I'll back up. And they don't have that foundation, that strong basement wall where they can build a nice, strong building on of, the chemical, physical properties and definitions. And that's really what a good, competent hazmat guy understands. He knows the difference between, and maybe I'm splitting hairs, but miscibility and solubility. He knows the difference between a flash point and ignition point, auto ignition point. He understands these things can make or break your operation. They can make or break your life or your team's life.
Right.
Guys get very dependent on their meters and either don't know how to interpret or don't know how to utilize their meters properly. You'll see a guy that's going into a natural gas leak and he's got his wand by his knees or by his hip. And that's, you know what I'm saying? And the guy was not brought up right, or the guy doesn't understand the basic concepts of how to meter. And that should be in every scenario, whether you know it or not. You should be waving from high to middle to low step, from high to middle to low step. And we do this because, I know it's going to be at the ceiling, but you don't know about the air currents. You don't know if it's a low gas that's caught a warm current and throws it to the ceiling. So we got to monitor the whole place.
Right.
You guys see that out there?
I gave you a bunch of claps because it's up there with the rule of thumb.
Well,
when you're a hazmat technician,
he got some claps. He's getting more claps. Look at him.
Look at that. Look at that. He's a handsome guy.
Claps. He's got claps all over the place.
I got the.
But you're not.
That's what the drink is for.
You're not the awareness level anymore. You're not operations. You've got to go in. You got to do the job. You should know how to use your equipment and understand it. And that's what drives me nuts about the alarm. And when I hear people say, I'll stop with the alarm. And I've got a concept I always use called train within the alarms, meaning I'll never take somebody to the alarm. I'll take it one step right below because I want to see that they understand and see. And then don't even get me started on that with radiation because that's another another area. And all you got to do is switch probes, and all of a sudden you're 2 and 3 times the background.
Somebody just brought up a good point, and I think it's. I'm going to assume this is Stanford Fire. This is STFD-20, but he brought up a good point. I was actually thinking about it at the same time.
No,
it's the probe.
Saginaw Township.
Oh, there it is. Okay, sorry, my bad. Is the probe? How many people actually know how long it takes for the probe? They take the probe, they go around a door and a window, they move it around real fast, and then they walk away 15 seconds, 20 seconds, however long the tube is, and then they get a reading because they forget that reaction time. Yeah, you got it.
Now before the time they get it, they're 20 feet into the bad.
Exactly. So just a simple thing is that reaction time, and people forgetting, it's 1 foot per second, however long that tube is, that can be a big deal. That could be a real big deal. Like you said, they could be 20, 30 feet into a building by the time something happens, and it could be too late.
Right. Absolutely. And you know what? We were just discussing this. I was going over a meter with one of the new guys, and he was saying, okay, it's, for our meter, we use the Draeger XAM 7000s. That's like our kind of a wheelhouse meter. And not that they're any better or worse than anything else. They have the goods and bads, but that meter drags through at, 1 foot per second. What is it, Mike? It's 3 feet per second. I don't remember.
It's a foot per inch. It's a second per inch on the, I believe it's the Draegers. It's a second.
Oh, the Draegers.
Oh, it's a second per foot.
And then it depends on if you have the tubing attached.
Yeah,
if you have that permanently attached.
And this guy was saying, all meters are this. And I said, no, and this meter is this meter is that, this meter is this. And they're all different speeds. And you got to know whether, okay, if I take in a PID, it's this pump pull. Like Bob was saying, how fast the air pulls through. If I bring in X meter, it goes to this. If I bring in this meter, it's a bypass. It's a open air one. So knowing your stuff, knowing what you got.
How it operates helps give you the piece of the puzzle that gives you a bigger idea of what's happening on the picture.
Well, right. and just not the simple thing of the pump. Let's say, I don't know how many people that actually know which sensor reads in parts per million, reads in percent. Something just that simple. And if you don't stay on top of it, hopefully you're a hazmat technician, you should know it anyway. But if you're that regular company that just has a 4-gas meter because they said, here, take this. If it makes a noise, let us know. I would still want to know, what it's supposed to be. So just something like that. And that's a good little quiz you can do with your guys, that they may think they know it all. You call them on the spot, but you know what? We know in our job, sometimes that's the best way to learn. You get called out on the spot. So there you go.
So bringing it all around with the metering, and then you send somebody in, they've metered it. They're actually getting some hits. You've got a building, you've got a structure, and if you listen to the podcast, you've got the choice between shutting down the leak, right? Or it's already done and now you're ventilating. So how about some tips on, for us, it's a 1-story residential, or it's, we use the term nest, a large apartment. And I'm sure in the city there, you've got lots of large buildings. What's your plan of attack for now? Something's there. You're going to shut off the leak, and then what are you going to do? Bring in the gas blower and fire it up? We have fire it up, man. What we go in with a couple of different approaches. Let's say we have a project or a large scale residential, you could pick anything you like. It doesn't really matter. But if we have a larger building, we always try to go to the appliance and shut down as small as possible. So it might be just isolating the stove, and then we might have to isolate the floor, and then we might have to isolate the building, and then isolate the and we build it up because obviously we don't want to shut off as much as possible. But we have 2 gas meters that we typically use for a leak. One is going to be the one we actually have is the TIF 8800, which is the X, the newer one is the 8800X.
Yeah, X, something like that. And they made it cheaper and put an X on it.
It is, yeah, it's fancy now. But what this thing is a very low. What is it? What the hell is the technology? It's on the tip of my tongue.
It's the metal oxide.
Metal oxide. It's a small catalytic bead, metal oxide bead that will beep at a very low. It's like 2 to 3 parts per million. So it's a sniffer,
right?
And it can point specific leaks. That's great for finding the source, but it really doesn't give you. It doesn't quantify anything. It just gives you presence. So it just hums faster or higher when it gets closer and when it doesn't. But we also use our generic LEL meters and what else? That's basically it, right? I mean, just for the natural gas. Sometimes we'll use the FID if need be, but that's really if we're kind of breaking off into multiple teams and we've run out of primaries. Right. And actually, the funny thing is that me and Mike are literally sitting down to do a whole metering 4 or 5 episode podcast that's going to be exhaustive, because a couple of our listeners just asked us and they were like, can you do metering? And we didn't want to really do it because the breadth of this topic is insane.
It's absolutely.
If I can, I'm going to go pick up a 10-year-old from the swimming pool.
Hopefully,
but before I go on and it'd be great to talk to it another time. The article I just written was actually it came in as a gas leak. Everything we talked about, just all that, the odor, the metering, and everything else. But it got more exciting than that, in that it was never a gas leak. It was an electrical charge that was causing grounding under the earth, releasing hydrocarbons, and next thing you know, you're getting all these readings on the meters. I interviewed everybody most of the people that were on scene. It was kind of exciting because everything we just talked about, and it was actually an electrical call that almost like a vault call, but not, that ended up causing hits on meters, and they were digging for hours looking for a gas leak that was never there. I'm going to sign off. I'm not sure if I'll come back on, but I thank everybody that I put a shout out to, and I really appreciate it. And I'll watch the rest of it later. And thanks, Martin, from Fire Rescue TV, because I know he's going to make this available later for everybody to see.
Very cool.
Sweet. Which reminds me, we got to talk a little bit. He asked if we have any recommendations for drills for firefighters on the engine ladder companies that would, help out the hazmat guys. And I guess just off the top of my head, just going over the basic meters, as we said, knowing the basics, learning the basics, learning about them. That's a fantastic drill. Hopefully, I know we have them in our house. We cook on gas stoves. So if you can, I'm not saying to manipulate the stove, but I'm saying if you can get some gas out, you can start to see what the meter looks like. I'm always a big fan of, this is more of a meter drill, of introducing odd things to the meters just to see what happens. I've been known to, burn up my meters, introducing them to hydrogen just to see what it looks like, so we know when we come across hydrogen. And what would be some other? Do you guys think of any other drills?
Doing I guess you'd call it meter strategy, where you make sure that, what's your basic air monitoring strategy going to be? Well, it should be a pH paper, it should be a 4 or 5 gas meter, and it should be some kind of rad detection device. And teaching the guys to, hey, if that unknown call, you can start ruling some things out. Okay, we know it's not radiation. All right, but we'll still take our pH paper, 4 or 5 gas meter, and go down range and have them practice with those different things, making sure the pH paper is leading out first for obvious reasons, so we're not burning up our meter. And that's just a real basic, down and dirty, nuts and bolts kind of, tactic strategy thing that they can do in the station or around the station, or, act like it's a chemical suicide in a car or something with hydrogen sulfide, and have them identify, whatever it is they see as they're approaching the car or what have you. Just little simple things like that.
All right, I got a question for you, because you brought it up, so it might be an interesting point to talk about. You said that you put the pH paper on. Oh, my pictures all just shifted around. Okay. You put the pH paper on the end of the probe so you don't burn up the meter. What is your actual thought on metering in an acidic environment or a basic environment?
If I'm going to burn a meter, that's a cost of doing business. That's kind of the way I look at it. Okay. I might get written up for it. I might not. As long as I justify myself, I'm pretty okay. I would think. You got to do what you got to do. It's like some people taking a 4 or 5 gas meter into an ammonia leak. Well, why are they doing it? Well, do we have LELs? Sure we do. Real high level, but you still got to do it. So I'll burn a meter up all day long and twice on Sunday. I don't care.
Yeah, because we it's something that we come across all the time when we're doing technician classes or refreshers. People have been told don't bring your meter into an acidic environment, and if we're interested in the flammability in any way, shape, or form, hey, listen,
you have to.
That meter is way, way less important than I am to most people.
But that brings up a good point though. But they also got to know what that meter is going to do in the acidic environment, what those sensors are going to do or not do. And if all of a sudden they zero out,
Yeah, they got to understand that once they're in there for a little while, you can consider that meter pretty much useless. You've burnt it up, but grab another one and keep on trucking.
Right.
I mean, Shan's 3 and 5. He's got a lot of good questions and stuff over here. Matt Blows has got one too, but we as this thing gets bigger, it's gonna be harder for us to respond to all this stuff. But Shan's 3 and 5 said that some of us Hazmat, you guys only go to 1% of the calls, so bring some basic stuff in. And be honest with you guys, this is the first time out of the box. We really didn't know how this is going to work out. We are going to be having a rough topic list where we are going to try to keep this as basic as possible. Me and Mike, when we do the podcast, our whole thing is to explain it to everybody like they're in 5th grade. Because if you can understand it, you're in 5th grade.
Good, I need to go.
It's a little bit highbrow.
We'll do some summer school work for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But I mean, we're trying. If it's advanced stuff, and I like to kind of keep it into that definitions, that basic chemical physical properties, because that's something that all of us, the definition, the language we should all be speaking, and these things are eventually going to build onto it. So if these are advanced for you, then we're going to try to put out the thing for next week and what we're going to be doing, study up a little bit, and we're going to try to keep you in the loop and get moving with this thing. But one of my favorite, and this is uber basic, I prefer to take somebody, because we go on these runs all the time where they you go Hazmat to Battalion ABC. What do you got? We have 35 gallons of gasoline from a car on the ground. How do you possibly have 35? I don't know of any car that has 35 gallons in it. They have 20, 25 maybe. So the problem is that the identification of a spill is really off. Everybody always overestimates. So here's my little drill for you. Grab a 5-gallon spackle bucket and fill it up with 2, 3, 3.5 gallons of water. You're the drill guy. You walk out front of the firehouse, throw it on the ground, grab a couple of guys and say, how many gallons are on the floor? And have them give you numbers. And when they give you, it's 15, it's 20 gallons on the floor, show them the spackle bucket and say it was 2.5 gallons. And then over time, with the practice, they'll be able to identify how much spill it is. And why is this important? Because at least where me and Mike work, our threshold is 4 gallons, where we got to notify the DEP, DEC, whoever it might be, the Coast Guard at some point. I know there's a Coast Guard guy in here, but we have to notify people. So if we look at this thing and say, oh, crap, it's 12 gallons, but it's 2, well, we made notifications for nothing. So that's a quick, easy one. You could do it with water in front of the firehouse. You could do it in the firehouse if you want to be a gag guy. But, that's a quick and easy one.
Yeah, that's very good. That's a good one.
Responding real quick to I Rescue You. All right. Says, I don't know. I rescue. There's underlines and slashes and stuff. High percentage of your hazmat calls are high-level technician calls. A majority of them will be operations levels anyway. He's absolutely right. We try to keep this basic because we're building off the foundation. And in reality, a lot of the hazmat runs that New York City has are operations levels. We only get called in when the technician is required to be there. And since every firefighter should be at operations level, this is the base that we're trying to hit. And then, if you're interested in learning more, then keep listening and find the shows in which we talk, about more complex stuff. Because
I want to talk about this operations level thing, because this is something that we guys talk about operations level. And a lot of time, I'm going to get over my soapbox here again. A lot of times we get out of that operations level whole thing because when you look at the way NFPA says an operations level guy is, he is defensive only, right? There is very small amounts of metering that is allowed based upon, 472? But the thing is he's defensive. The only modification is that he can do a remote shutoff of active shutoff. So if I have an MC406 gasoline tanker that's leaking, I can go to that button in the back, slap it, and I effectively shut it off, but it was a defensive remote shutoff. So that is in the operations. Remember that operations guys are on the rigs going in there to cordon off and make safe, go defensive. Me, Mike, Bob, Phil, we're all technicians. That's where that line is of switching over to that offensive mode, and that's where you're going to go in and actually mitigate stuff. Now, with that technician, we have a deeper understanding of stuff. But we don't want to go deeper than you guys can go. So we're going to have to cater to everybody from the awareness, which is AKA the pedestrian level, all the way up to the specialists. And actually, I know that there is a chemist in the room right now. Yes.
Show
chemist.
yourself.
I know. I'm not going to scout him out. I know he's in here, but I can't see him. I don't see him on the side. So he's here. There's an actual chemist. And I told him, I said, if we make a mistake, give me a little poke or something like that. But yeah, we have to keep it, keep it lively for everybody. We want to bring stuff to you, and we're going to have a little more structured show coming up. But we're feeling this out. Honestly, we didn't know how this was going to work out. To be honest,
I think actually it's going great. Up in the corner was 177
people have watched. There's 17 watching right now.
That's awesome.
So there's 17. There's 17 people currently watching us.
Yes.
Nice.
That's
nice.
Creepy.
It is creepy. Like Bobby said, we're trying to keep it light, and whatever you guys have suggestions or even suggestions for other shows, let us know, and we'll throw it out there and do whatever we can do to help. Because like we said in the beginning, it's all about helping each other out.
Yeah.
I certainly didn't, boom, you're the hazmat technician guy. Years and I'm still learning stuff every day. With the old saying, when you're through learning, you're through. So I still learn stuff from everybody. So please throw it out there.
Every day I go into work, I sit down for at least 1 hour to read everything. I mean, I just read.
Maxim doesn't count, Bobby.
Yeah, is that the time on the ball?
Oh man, no, but I sit down and I actually, the new book I picked up was the IFSTA Technician Manual, their book. And I got to say, and I'm not selling it, I get no kickback, but it is a really well-written book. And they come with the whole question database on a key. Look at that. IFSTA. Nice. And but I just read placards, and there was crap in there I never heard about. There was stuff in there. I was like, wow.
There is an enormous amount of stuff just on the radiation placard, like little things like borders and stuff that's just so minute that you'd let it go right past you if you didn't know. It's crazy.
Jan's 3.5 is making fun of my straw. It's purple. Yeah, well,
you need a crazy straw.
Reaches out. Yeah, I should have it on my
next show. It'll be a crazy straw, a clear one, so we can see if you're actually drinking.
Yeah.
So, listen, we have to wrap it up. We're about 45 minutes into this shindig, and we really appreciate you guys all listening. But I want to give proper time for everybody to kind of give their thing, and I guess I'll start it off, guys. I really want your feedback. I want to know what you guys think of this show, and I'm not going to lie. I want you to go listen to our podcast as well. If you want to suggest something, of course, we're not going to be able to put every single thing in here, but go to feedback@thehazmatguys.com, and Bob's going to tell you about Hazmat Nation, which is another great site that Bob and Phil are part of. But the hazmatguys.com is mine and Mike's podcast, and you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, everywhere else. But I don't know. We have a couple of different shows. We have Hot Wash, which is where we critique recent events. And if you have one, we want to hear about it. We actually just did one for, Kentucky, Mike?
Yeah, it was. And I think I don't know if he's in here currently, but he was in here. I won't give him up because he asked me not to. But yeah, they had a radiation run. And I talked to him, and I swear to you, I learned a whole bunch about radiation that I had no idea. So I highly recommend going to that Hot Wash. It was a real good one. It was an interview. So always good to have interactions during the Hot Wash.
Yeah. And we also had the Instructors Corner. I just did one of those, but I rescued you to just put something in here. And I wanted to bring this up. If the core four is me, Bob, Mike, and Phil, and what our goal is to do is, listen, sometimes we're just not going to be available. If Bob catches a run right now and he's got to walk out the door, then we have an open seat. And if we know we have an open seat, I don't see any problem with bringing one of the listeners on and let's talk to you. Let's interview you live on a thing. We're going to be taking You know, and listen, and when Bob gets back, he says, "Hey, I'm back," and I'll say, "Hey, thanks for stopping by," and we kick you out of the seat, and we'll get somebody, you know, and you're out. But you know, our plan is to take these shows. Now, Blab is going to host them for a long time, and then we're also going to be creating a podcast on the Hazmat Guys Network of these audio shows, and also we're going to be hosting them on YouTube, and it's going to be everywhere. So, if you want to, I think that's about all I got to say. Because, yeah.
And if I can just throw in the Hazmat Nation real quick, guys, please go to the Hazmat Nation site. There's a lot of breaking news stuff that pops up. We get alerts, and it's a good sharing tool. It's a good learning tool. There's lessons learned on there. It's a free site, and it's got a lot of good information. So, and that's hazmatnation.com.
Awesome, Mike.
Right.
What do you got, baby?
I don't have a whole hell of a lot. I came in late to this conversation, so I feel a little behind the eight ball on it. But listen, our goal when we started this was to create a community and to be able to critique each other, to be able to learn both as hazmat operations, hazmat technicians, hazmat specialists, and my passion is the teaching. So we're trying to bring that to the table as well, learning from runs, and this work that we're doing with the Hazmat Nation really helps stitch this together in a couple different medias. And I see nothing but these two entities getting closer and closer as we try to put out content and information and knowledge. Where I'm sure we're going to be getting to the point that we're talking about a lot of these runs and events. Hopefully getting to the point that we're actually can have people on that were at these events and talk about. I've learned a tremendous amount just in the past couple of months that we've been doing this, and I guys, stick along for the ride because you're going to learn something.
Yeah, it's going to get better. I promise you that. I don't think this is that bad, but it's going to get a lot better. I appreciate listening, and by all means, please follow us. It's the Hazmat Nation on Twitter and Facebook, correct?
Right. Correct.
And we're the Hazmat Guys on Twitter and Facebook. In fact, our Twitter is the Hazmat Guys 1. I don't know why.
Right. The Twitter account, the account above your head is the Hazmat Guys Twitter. Yep, right there. Right. Go up. Yep.
Just
and
point.
Then mine. Yeah.
Perfect.
And
there
then
you go.
the one that I had to just create to get on this is here. So there was somebody who was upset that I didn't. You like that? I feel like a weather person.
It's great.
There we go. Right there. They were upset that I rejected them or didn't follow them or something, and I have no idea what is happening on Twitter. I just made this to jump on. Yeah, but hopefully it gets a little bit better. Maybe a couple extra drinks every now and then.
Yeah,
or get to have some drinks. So we'll see what
Or
happens.
get right. That's I'll have a few drinks for you.
guys, we're gonna actually we're gonna be doing this. We're setting it up for Tuesdays at 9:15 every week. That's our plan. And so whether the way we're going to set it up is that whether we're there or not, the show goes on. So if it's one of us, then we're going to be bringing 3 guests in the room, and we're just going to BS for an hour. And we're going to do 1 hour, and however many of us come. But the 4 of us always gets a seat, and then we're going to bring in guests to see how it goes. So what else you guys got? Anything good?
That's it. Sounds good.
All right.
And
that's it. I'm stopping the recording.
It's a wrap.
Sign.
Everybody be safe.
It's a wrap.